Venus Williams is the greatest female tennis player in the history of the world. One of the reasons that is because she knows her numbers. When she goes up against an opponent, she knows how fast her serve is, how fast their return is. She knows how likely the person is to hit it here, how likely they are to hit it there. Dozens and dozens of numbers, tendencies all broken down about her opponent, but even more tendencies and numbers broken down about her. That's how they improve. So yesterday, Venus was out riding in a car with her nephew. 18-year-old nephew was driving her around when Venus was triggered. Not by a number, she was triggered by the sight of a cop car. As soon as she saw the cop car, she started thinking of Philando Castile, the guy in, I think was it St. Paul, Minneapolis? I forget where. Somewhere in Minnesota, I think. Yeah, Minnesota. He had a gun, even though he had a permit for it. The cops thought they were suspects in an armed robbery. He had a gun. He may have reached for it. He got shot. That's all being decided now. Anyway, this was a major triggering trauma for Venus Williams. So she started thinking about all these things, about how that could happen to her nephew, how it could happen to her. This is 2016. Is she speaking out enough? Then she included the obligatory reference to Martin Luther King Jr. Why don't we take a look at what Venus said? But instead of me reading it, I'll let you read it on the screen. And while she reads it, while you read it, we're going to play a 911 call from an armed robbery. Some nasty business. So we're going to give some reality to this fantasy and delusion of cops and white people always killing black people for no reason whatsoever. Then we're going to go to a couple more. Then we'll go to the actual story of the event you hear the 911 call on. Then we'll go to a couple of more stories. Black on white crime, black on white murder happening like right now. And while you're watching these stories, just remember these numbers, Venus. When your nephew leaves his house, he is hundreds of times more likely to be shot by another black person than a cop. And your nephew is thousands and thousands of times more likely to be shot by another black person than a cop in a bad shoot. You didn't get to be the best player in the world by making numbers up. Not sure why you started now.
Just been shot.
Okay, on the corner of Calvary Capitol. What's your name, sir?
Oh my God!
Did you see who shot him?
I don't know who it is. Oh my God!
Alright, listen to me, alright? We got help on the way out there. Did you see the person that shot him?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my God, dude!
What did that person look like?
It was two black dudes.
Okay, what were they wearing?
They were all wearing black. They were wearing black. You know, I don't know. I don't know if he's alive, man.
Okay, are you with them right now?
Yes.
Okay, can you put pressure on the wound? Where was he shot?
He was shot multiple times in his chest area. I don't know, like he's bleeding, man.
Police are looking into a shooting that turned deadly. Last night, police say Aaron Jacobs was found shot in a car in the 4400 block of Capitol Boulevard. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. Police say a person who called 911 saw a small sedan, gray in color, drive away from the scene.
And here's a picture of one of the guys arrested in the murder of this white kid. White kid, wrong place, wrong time. A couple of the fellas saw him. Boom, boom, boom. Done. We've seen that story, right? Many, many times. Venus, have your statistician run some numbers on the number of white kids that are killed by black people. See if they can do a statistical analysis on the likelihood of a white kid being killed by a black person, the closer you get to a black neighborhood. Then run the opposite one. How many black people are killed by white people in white neighborhoods? Let me know what your statistician says. In the meantime, let's look at these murders.
Man accused of shooting a Detroit police officer is expected to face a new charge this morning, first-degree murder. This comes after the sergeant died from complications from that shooting. 7 Action News reporter Nima Shafee is joining us live from Detroit Police Headquarters with more on this. Nima.
Alicia, good morning. We're talking about 21-year-old Marquise Cromer, who's already facing a long list of charges. This morning, the charge of first-degree murder will be added to that list. He'll go before a judge here in Wayne County as it relates to the shooting of 46-year-old DPD Police Sergeant Kenneth Stile. It was a week ago when he fired that shot from a sawed-off shotgun, the 46-year-old sergeant dying from complications following that shooting. Outside the 9th Precinct, a growing memorial. Strangers, complete, no one that knew, some people that didn't even know him, coming forward, writing mementos, messages of I love you to the police sergeant and his family and to Detroit police as well. These images from outside the 9th Precinct show Stile's squad car. This morning, the car covered in balloons, mementos, flowers, cards, his car, the center of a vigil last night. This morning, it's people here on the streets that are speaking up. Take a listen.
DPD is not Ferguson. DPD is not some of these other police departments where you have rogue racist cops taking the lives of innocent black men. That's not Detroit Police Department. That wasn't this particular sergeant.
3 men and 1 woman, all accused in a horrible crime, the death of Samantha Burnett. The criminal complaint says these men, convicted felons, got a hold of 2 guns used in the killing. And even as he sits in jail, a relative of Vincent Harris's came to his defense.
That's not his character.
Really? What is his character, God? Sorry.
He's not that type of person to even be. He probably just around the wrong person at the wrong time.
But Harris's history shows he's a repeat offender. He was convicted of assault back in June and could have faced 32 months in prison, according to state law. But a Dakota County judge opted for probation and a stayed sentence, lower than the recommendation. The Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines Commission plans to review this case. But Executive Director Nate Wright says judges do have discretion.
Judges need to articulate substantial and compelling reasons why this particular case warrants a departure from the guidelines.
Convicted felon Devontae Bobo is also charged with second-degree murder and robbery in Burnett's death. And 10-time felon Christopher Calloway was just released from prison 6 weeks ago, put on intensive supervised release, but already had a warrant for his arrest. Samantha's sister, Brittany Rock, was pistol-whipped during the Sunday ambush and hopes these 4 arrests lead to justice.
I want them to pay for it.
How'd you like that guy in the story about Detroit, saying Detroit cops are good, not like those renegade white cops all over the country shooting black people for no reason whatsoever? That next story where that high school girl got shot, that was a weird story. I read a couple of accounts out. Everybody was having trouble getting their minds around, just telling us very plainly what happened. So this girl and her sister, a couple of white girls, were in their car driving around St. Paul. They met up with a black friend who was quite a bit older than both of them. She says, "Hey, would you stop the car for a minute? I gotta check something out." All of a sudden, a bunch of black people surround the car. All of a sudden, her sister's getting killed. She's getting robbed. Now 4 of them are arrested, charged with murder. These aren't anecdotes, Venus. These are facts. These are facts that illustrate an enormous pattern of black-on-white violence, black mob violence, black criminality that you and your nephew can afford to ignore because you're living in this little bubble, this little safety bubble, where the worst thing that happens to a tennis match is, somebody crunches a cucumber sandwich at the wrong time. You put out your little Facebook post that got about 1 billion views. Everybody on the planet has heard about it by now. That's what happens when you're the world's greatest tennis player. Just because you're the world's greatest tennis player, that doesn't stop you from being in denial, deceit, and delusion about this whole business of black crime, black-on-white crime, black mob violence that is wildly out of proportion. Hey, Venus, did you forget about this guy? When you see this picture, do you get triggered the same way you got triggered when you saw that cop car? Maybe you should. That's the guy who killed your sister. Your half-sister about a dozen years ago. Do you suppose your sister did something to make that black kid angry?